All right, say that to me what you just said a second ago.
All right. So with us being here located out of St. Louis, it is 314 day. So I want to go ahead and give my brother, Mr. Keys, the honor of doing the first of hopefully many number one picks in our mock to mock in this March mock that we have going on. So yes, sir. Yeah, give I am him.
Who do you
But
think
I'm
you
gonna go
are?
ahead
I am.
and
Shout out to Pete Weber, actually
I'm
from
gonna
St.
go
Louis.
ahead and give my brother the floor.
Um, all right, man. So we're doing this Mockin March, right? Just working on our own individual mocks. We felt like it would be appropriate to do a kind of back and forth GM, multiple GM role. We just play different spots and compete. Shout out to the Raiders for getting their new head coach. We're gonna ride it out and see how I do. But his whole theme that he's had with USC and with Seattle and now with the Raiders is compete. Everything is about competition. So we're taking kind of
Yeah.
that same approach with the mocks. Today is just gonna be the top 10. I didn't know if you wanted to touch on free agents at all or anything you wanted to speak about that or just incorporate that in. But
Yeah. Kind of, sort of. I mean, we've had
okay.
some big moves that's going to really affect the board. So I think it was some teams that definitely like positioned themselves well for the draft to either move up, move down. But like I told you, before we actually went live, like I don't like to do mocks before actual free agency just because you really never know. You never know what's really gonna happen to how teams gonna feel and address holes and needs. So with that being said, you do have some winners, you have some losers, you got people that we're actually scratching our head, like, what are they doing? Like, what could they be up to? So I just don't feel like it's right to do a mock without like actually addressing free agency. So, or at least bringing up a few of the names of some of the players that got new homes. So, do you have any players that actually found a new team that you feel like is a good fit, or you think it could be, perfect fit, marriage together? Before we get started, you got any that stood out to you?
Um obviously one hits closer to home being a Raiders fan, an adopted Raiders fan. But it's been 10 years, so I think I'm legit now. It was 10 years ago. It's been 10 years since I hopped on. Anyway, um,
That's a long
one of our
time, bro.
one of our biggest free agent losses, because everybody seemed to scavenge our roster, even though we were so terrible last year, was Robert Spillane. Robert Spillane was just starting to establish himself the past 2 years as one of the top off ball linebackers in the NFL. Um, Graded well as statistically with his tackle totals. We did not do a good job with run defense last year at all. The defense definitely regressed under Antonio Pierce, which is most likely the reason he got fired. But
Yeah,
he set the tone as the captain of the defense, the green dot, and made it difficult for opposing running games to go his way. They'd have to get
yeah,
away from him, get to the outside, which we played a lot of teams that stretched the ball to the outside as opposed to just running up the middle. He got plucked off by Mike Vrabel to the New England
mm,
Patriots.
yeah,
Um, Vrabel being Vrabel, and I made a note of this with some of my what I think they're going to do in the draft. There aren't many teams that are so invested in culture in the NFL like the New England Patriots. A lot of
yeah,
guys
yeah. You
over
gotta
the
fit.
past
You gotta
two
fit there.
decades. Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to
they don't
fit.
get guys that don't fit the new like the Patriot way. That's why you got the Patriot way. If you don't fit the mold of the on and off the field player, you're not gonna play for the Patriots. No matter, they have some exceptions to the rules. you had the Randy Mosses of the world, but when you got players like Tom Brady, you kind of gotta you gotta kind of dip your toe in the pool on something like that, and they found a perfect marriage, and the rest is history. But to your point though, I understand exactly what you're saying. Like certain players, they fit your culture when they step into your building. You know what I mean? But I can see I can see the fit of uh how you say his name? Sablini? How you
Spillane,
pronounce it?
Spillane, like
Spillane.
spill. Yeah,
Spillane. I can see him fitting in with Vrabel's defense and probably running multiple different fronts and him kind of being a versatile piece that he gonna utilize.
yeah. Having that old school size, physical, not afraid to go downhill. And in that division, as the Bills have really started to establish the run more with James Cook and bringing in Ray Davis, Miami has been premised on the run coming from that Kyle Shanahan tree. Um,
Hmm.
the Jets with Brees Hall and now getting Big Braylon Allen, who they're going to continue to develop. They want to make sure that that's just not going to be a component of how they lose games. You're going to have to beat
Exactly.
them through the air.
You got to control it in the trenches. You got to stop that run.
And then we're having Christian Gonzalez, and I think they got another DB. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think they picked somebody else up, but he's going to make sure the defense does their job, and that they can focus more on building young talent around Drake May. So I thought that was a great pickup for them. It hurt for me, but it fit. It made the most sense. It was a big
Yeah.
fit.
Well, yeah, I can see that for sure. The Raiders do they have a couple holes, and definitely we're gonna get to them here in the top 10. When we get started, and that'll be early on. So I'm kind of curious to see what how we feel that in this first mock the mock, the Mark mock here. But I will say with Geno Smith actually going to the Raiders, it does make that pick a lot more interesting than and not such a slam dunk for some picks that people thought maybe a month or two ago even. You know what I mean? So some people even said that they may even had calling up prior to getting Geno Smith to try and get to two to get somebody like Shador or even Cam Ward if Shador goes one, of course. They'd be trying to be the second in line to get him. So we'll see, man. Um, with that being said, with all due respect, let's get it started, man. You're on the clock.
All right. So give me a quick second here. I'm kind of moving some stuff around. Number one overall pick currently is in the possession of the Tennessee Titans. Um, I honestly did not expect him to be in this position last season. When they did get Will Levis, they added Brian Callahan, or they had Will Levis, but they added Brian Callahan, Calvin Ridley, the offensive line, Brian Callahan's dad being a legendary offensive line coach. I thought they had made a lot of moves the previous offseason to put them in position to be competitive in the division, if not win the division.
Yeah,
Obviously
yeah,
losing
I'm with
Derrick
you. I'm
Henry
with you
hurt.
on that actually. I mean to cut you
Yeah,
off on that, keys. I was with you
no,
on
you good.
that like 100%. So
Yeah, so I just to see how they performed, particularly Will Levis, um, that was it was mind-boggling. That was the biggest miss I made in predictions from last season throughout the course of the season. Found him in the Cobra Kai pose and you know doing the diving lateral for a pick, like just so many
oh
comical
man,
plays.
listen, I'm a Bears fan, and that first pick six in week one was crazy. Did he? He throws cross field in the fourth quarter, and Tyreek Stevenson picks it off, goes in, scores. He backs that up the next week and does the flip pitch pick six. I think he had like 3 games in a row where he had thrown pick sixes. Like I think the only person to like have more is a certain stretch was like Daniel Jones. But no, that ain't good
Yeah,
company to be
he got
around.
that
You know what I
turnover spirit from Jameis Winston, and Jameis Winston tried to pray it away. It just hopped over to
mean?
Tennessee.
You said he got that turnover spirit, huh?
That turnover spirit.
Oh
I think
man,
that he
that's
started to
crazy.
play better towards the end of the year, and I don't mean to prolong my pick, but I'm giving perspective. I think he
Yeah.
did start to play better towards the end of the year after he had been benched. He had some time to watch the game from a different perspective. Got his tongue lashing from Brian Callahan because Brian Callahan was like more visibly and verbally like
Yeah, he was
upset.
ripping him on the sideline a little bit.
You
He was
know,
getting laying
even
into him a little
in
bit.
post games and in the press conferences, he was like
Yeah, he
a
told him his
little bit
play had to
more.
be a lot better. Yeah.
You don't normally hear that from head coaches, like being so direct with it. They kind of try to dance around it or protect their quarterbacks in different ways. So that was kind of alarming. And it made me think, okay, they're going to move away from him in the offseason. It hasn't happened. At this point, I don't think it's going to happen because a lot of the names that you would try to target are gone, and you're going to kind of make a lateral move at this point with another question mark and a guy that you bring into the building in free agency or a trade. So for me, I think that the Tennessee Titans are going to address the defense with their first overall pick, considering who was on the board and considering who is available in the draft. I think they're going to go with Abdul Carter. Um, I think
Whoa.
what solidified this for
Okay.
me is Harold Landry departing, allowing
Mm,
him to leave with the lack of like big name star pass rush people that's on the roster already. It led me to
yeah.
believe that they're sold on getting Abdul Carter with the number one pick, and they're locking that up.
Mm,
And like I said, they seem to be frustrated with Levis, but with the quarterbacks that are available, as many people have spoken about the quarterback class as it is, I don't think
mm-hmm,
they want to trade out of that number one pick
mm-hmm.
to avoid.
Carter's too valuable at one to pass up. They rather
He's the only
stay.
guy that's valuable enough to stay in that spot for what they need. So that's why I'll
Jeez,
go
I
after
love
Carter.
that. I love that point, man. And I'm glad we having this mock because I haven't really thought about that or processed it that way because there everything seems like it's in my what I've been, seeing from sources and everything. I've been seeing Cam Ward seems like a lock to go one to Tennessee. Which either way I could see happening. But now with the point of what you're making them letting Landry go, I can see them waiting until maybe the second round and see if somebody like a Jackson Dart falls to them. Maybe they can grab someone like him to bring in and create competition for Levis. So I could
Somebody
definitely
that you
see
can
that
develop and you
happening,
don't have to
bro.
worry about.
That was a shocker. I didn't exactly. He has experience, has arm talent, athletic. He can probably do some of the same things Levis can do, but maybe even more pro ready than when Levis came out. Which once you get him in your program and you start to develop him, and he gets some reps underneath his belt, you never know what somebody like Jackson Dart could be. You know what I'm saying? So uh, that was a shocker, bro. You shocked me with that one. Right off the bat.
Yeah, I've
Um,
been seeing them going for Cam Ward. I've been seeing them potentially trading out of the pick, but once I saw the Harold Landry move, which again, to your point, waiting until we see a little bit what happens with the new
yeah.
league year starting, it's like, yeah, I think they're going. And I like just listening to Brian Callahan speak too. I think he spoke at the combine, and the way he was
Mhm.
speaking about Levis was kind of indicative of like, I'm gonna give him another shot. He's part of the
Yeah,
reason I
kind of
came to
promising it.
Tennessee.
Exactly. He is like, I'm kind of he's still in support of him. Like I'm gonna try this Levis era one more season, or at least give him to training camp and win out a spot to do his thing. So yeah, I agree with you on
Another
that.
point I
So
wanted to make, and I'll leave it alone,
go ahead.
was and teams will never admit this. I believe it happens when we talk about tanking or we talk about like being in position for future draft capital or draft position. If all else
Hmm.
fails, another way to look at it, they get Abdul Carter or they don't get a quarterback of any kind, they rock with Will Levis again. If all else fails, they could be in striking range next season for a top quarterback
A
that's probably
quarterback.
more suitable. And they'll
Mm,
have added other pieces around him, kind of like what, not to be funny, but kind of like what Chicago did for Caleb Williams.
yeah. Now listen, they didn't do that by that wasn't the strategy. They lost by a lot of fluke shit. Excuse
Yeah,
my language.
for sure.
Like, you know what I mean? They didn't do that. There wasn't the strategy going into last year, but it worked out in that theory. So I understand. Um, so I guess let's go on to the number two pick. You kind of got me in a bind here now because I wasn't expecting Carter to come off the board. I thought I'd have a little bit more flexibility. We all know Deshaun Watson's contractual agreement with the Cleveland Browns and the guaranteed money. Guaranteed money was restructured and broken down so they could do a little bit more. Um, they paid Miles Garrett his money. He seems to be a happy camper now. He did discuss or uh, express his w- will to win and the franchise not being in that direction. So um, as we know, they have a good foundational piece in Miles Garrett. They have Denzel Ward. They have Newsom. Um, I believe the other outside corner Emerson is a free agent or could be potentially on the market. I don't think they re-signed him yet. Um, with that being said, I'm going to kind of take your theory on this too, Key. So my number two guy off the board, and I'll explain, is going to be Travis Hunter. So we going Travis Hunter, even though it shows that their needs right now is quarterback, running back. Nick Chubb was released, so they don't have a running back. Wide receiver room
Did
is
not
kind
miss
of
that one.
yeah, yeah. He's on the free agent market right now, looking for a job. So hey, I thought Dallas would have been a good little pickup for him, low key, but Dallas just got back literally right before we started the show. So I had
Miles
to look and
Sanders.
see Miles Sanders. Yeah, they got Miles Sanders. Um,
And they
so
traded for Javante Williams
Devontae Williams. Oh yeah, from the
from
Broncos.
Denver. Hmm.
Yep, yep. So they're kind of probably taking themselves out of like the race. They probably know that's probably the tea leaves that he's not going to fall past a certain point. Dorian, who was we just talking about? Dorian Thompson.
Thompson Robinson.
Yeah,
DTR.
they just yeah DTR. They just traded him. They may be opening up that roster spot to get another young quarterback to see what they have because they had him on the roster for a couple years. He had a little spark, was able to generate a trade out of his level of play. Somebody traded for him, so he has some talent, but he didn't. His ceiling is not high enough to raise the Cleveland Browns offense. But that being said, you can go and get somebody like Travis Hunter. He can play on the defensive side of the ball. Like I said, they got Jerry Judy. Um, Elijah Moore's gone. They do have David Njoku, but having another versatile offensive piece with the same, or if not higher, upside on defense as a corner, especially if he balls out at corner and you decide to let Denzel Ward go down the line as a trade chip or trade piece. I think he actually would give you so much more value than reaching on a quarterback if you're not sold on somebody or saying, hey, we're going to take somebody a quarterback at two, which I don't think they're going to do because they have so much money still invested in the quarterback room, even though they fixed it a little bit. It's still, you can't just get rid of Deshaun Watson for nothing, and nobody's trading for him. So this next person, I think, should be maybe somebody they should look for, maybe in the second round or even later. You may be able to get another quarterback a little bit later that could provide, a nice structure to your offense. Be able to, function. I'm not saying they go come out and ball out, but you may find a competent, player. Brock Purdy went, Mr. Irrelevant, so you never know what can happen. Maybe they bring in two quarterbacks. You never know. But with that being said, Travis Hunter, come on down. You are number two pick.
For sure. I could definitely see that. I had Cam Ward going second. I thought they would. I think they will invest in quarterback to get somebody on their rookie deal, and they don't have to worry about overpaying them at the current juncture. Even though they'll probably be playing this year,
Mhm.
they'll be able to phase Deshaun Watson out of Cleveland and hopefully out of the NFL before it's time for the next quarterback to be up for his next deal.
Why you say
But
it
Travis
like
Hunter,
that, bro?
get him
He
out the
said,
league. Just get him out the league.
or
But
pays about the
yeah,
NFL.
I ain't want to talk about him. But
All
as
right.
far as Travis Hunter, it makes complete sense. I definitely could see him fitting in there for all the reasons you mentioned. Cedric Tillman, who came
Yeah.
on really strong towards the end of last year, I think
People
bolsters
sleep on him.
that case because I've
Mhm.
said for the beginning, I think Travis Hunter is primarily starting cornerback and can play significant number of plays on offense. I don't see him doing what he did in Colorado, in the NFL, wherever he goes, unless he puts on
Yeah.
significant weight, which I think that could also take away from his explosiveness. So I think it would make sense to mix him in as the third receiver in an offense with packages in the slot or just working around the offense, and you have those two receivers that's already
Yeah.
there, that makes that make perfect sense. And then you have the shutdown corner in Denzel on one side, so then he doesn't have to come in with that pressure either. It is a perfect fit. It adds explosiveness to both sides of the ball, playmaking ability. Um, so it makes sense to me. And for that
All right.
reason, with the number three pick, oh yeah, something else. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say with the number three pick, I go right down to or go up to New York and have the Giants taking Cam Ward. They're definitely in need of a
Woo.
quarterback. It makes absolutely no sense for them to draft anything else with the offensive crap that they've been putting on the field the past couple of years. They did have the one playoff season with Saquon. Saquon's no longer there. So you got to have somebody who you can build around. I know Brian Dayball and Shane are on the
Joe
hot
King
seat.
keep getting reminded of that.
You said what?
He keep getting reminded. I said he keeps getting reminded of that.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's
everywhere
gonna live
you
with him the
look
rest
on
of his
social
life.
media, for real.
And for that reason, you don't want to bring in. And I'm sure they did try. They tried to get Matt Stafford. They tried to get some veteran guys that could um, establish some kind of winning culture and provide some competitive juice to the team. But man, get the young explosive guy who might need a little bit of development, but he's clearly the best option at quarterback in this draft. And add talent
Mhm.
around him. Support him in the same way Chicago is supporting Caleb and that other teams have been supporting their young quarterbacks throughout the years. The model is
You already
there.
got neighbors, bro. You already got neighbors.
You
You already
already
got
got half.
neighbors.
I mean, you got Tyrone Tracy too. They
Yeah.
didn't really tap into Theo Johnson, in my opinion, in the way that they could have at tight
Yeah.
end.
Hmm.
So it's not like Cam Ward would be stepping into a worse situation than what he had in Miami or that what he had in Washington State. He's still been able
They
to
brought back
produce.
Slayton too. They brought back Darius Slayton.
Yeah, so there's talent there. The defense is solid. It could be better, but the defense really started to come on really strong towards the end of the season, even though the
Yeah.
offense wasn't matching their level of play. I think Cam Ward instantly provides some juice, youth, and it takes him off of the hot seat for another season because you can always say, well, the quarterback might have got us 6 or 7 wins. We didn't get to the playoffs, but there was some development. There was some hope there. So give us one more year. You get what I'm saying? That's why I think Cam
Yeah,
Ward makes the
yeah.
most sense there.
Getting a quarterback makes sense for them to extend out, like for the head coach and the GM to give them another at least year or two to see them develop, see what say their jobs or whatever you want to call it.
If
But
there's enough
yeah,
excitement on the field and there's enough competitiveness on the field, it'll help fans forget about what they did with Saquon. Not saying they're going to forget all the way, but it'll help. It'll kind of put some cream on the
yeah, it's an
wound.
easy pill to swallow.
Yeah, there you go.
Rub some dirt on it. All right, man. So the fourth pick, we got the Pets on the board. Now, this shows their needs are at running back, receiver, and O line. You do got Drake May. Receiving room is it's been. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. If back, I'm gonna keep it like how my head coach used to be back in high school. He would have came in the locker room. He would be like, "This shit is piss poor. Hey, y'all need to
All of y'all
pick this.
get out.
This shit is piss poor." But not to take it nothing away from 'em. I know they played at the highest level, so I always give my respect to any athlete, man. You've done what, a lot of people only dreamt of. So but their room needs um some support. Let's just say that. They need some help.
That's a
They need
nice way. That's a nice way of putting it.
they need some help to support supporting cast. Now, could a receiver go this high at four? Keys, can you see a receiver going top four?
Prior to the combine, yes. After the combine, no.
Okay, okay. Now I did just get some news yesterday that the Patriots released their center. They released David Andrews, solid center,
Mm.
even though their offensive line was, not the best. Um, Defense so. Only receiver that they went out and got was Matt. All right, man. So they definitely need some support and help in that wide receiver room. They did go out in free agency and make a few moves, like you noted. They got Robert Spillane, they got Carlton Davis, Harold Landry, Morgan Moses. They got Milton Williams from the Eagles, which I think they kind of overpaid a little bit. That's my opinion.
A
For
little
a
bit.
non-starter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't want to get off into that spiel right now. You know what I mean? We could talk
I got
about
you.
winners, losers, overpayers in a different video, but they did address some holes. Like they brought in talent, is what they did. You know what I mean? Um, Outside of Christian Gonzalez on the outside, they don't really need a corner. Travis Hunter is off the board. I don't think they will go corner, with like Will Johnson, but I think that I would not see that out of the realm of possibility of them going that high. But with that being said, I don't see him taking a back like Genty this high at four. So we're gonna take the receiver out of Arizona, Tetaroa McMillan, and we're gonna bolster up that offense. Give Drake May another outside weapon. Um, Maybe we even double dip and go try to get another receiver. But I think they've made a few pieces on defense and kind of balance out and give Vrabel a good balance of offensive talent plus defense. I would say taking somebody like Teddarua or T Mac as they call him at the number four pick. That's the route that I would go to get the Patriots back on track. What you think about that pick, Keys?
It makes sense. He was the receiver I had in mind before the combine, and just before doing a little bit more digging on his game and his tape. From what I've seen and the numbers that he hasn't posted because he didn't run the 40, it
Yeah,
made me have a little bit of caution, especially with some other receivers coming up with
yeah,
their combine performances and their tape becoming a little bit more publicized. Um, I think that there's enough receiver help that's close enough in talent or productivity to Ted McMillan that would make me move away from getting him at four for that roster. And I mean, there are some disappointing receivers on the roster that I thought were going to produce more last year, especially as rookies, with how there was little
yeah,
competition. Jalen
yeah,
Polk and Javon Baker, I really thought, and still think that they could be productive receivers in the league. But it would make sense if they did try to go get Ted this high. I had them getting Will Campbell personally because of what we talked about earlier, as far as establishing
yeah,
culture and really building on the model that teams like the Chiefs and the Eagles have been laying out. Like you got to invest in the trenches if you want your skill guys to thrive. You got to give your quarterback time, and you got to take time away from the other quarterback. So I think they'd go Will Campbell,
yeah,
but I wouldn't be surprised if they go skill player, especially if like a Travis Hunter falls. I think they'll go get him too.
yeah. So those three players are the only three that I think that are should be on the Patriots board at four. Um, I think of course, Mason Graham is a blue chip player. But with them getting Milton Williams, I don't think. that that's what they would do it for.
Yep.
So I think you kind of eliminate him out of those initial top guys. But when you have somebody like um, Will Campbell, I can see him sliding in, like you said, solidifying their offensive line. So only those three guys, if I'm the Patriots, am I willing to kind of sit and stick and pick at
Yep.
four? Is Tech?
It just depends on what kind of approach you want to take. If you want to get the explosiveness and get the offense a little more juice now, you kind of taking the Bengals approach when they got Joe Burrow and then immediately got Jamar Chase, paired them up together. You missed out on some years of getting some good offensive line help, but you got your offense and their team competitive right out the gate. Even though he had, Burrow would get his ass kicked on a regular basis. But a lot of teams now they're like, well, I can get those seal guys in trades or I can get them in later drafts. Let me get the line
Yeah,
right first. So it depends on how you want to go about it. I
yeah,
wouldn't be
for sure.
surprised either way. But Vrabel just strikes me as like just being a tough ass, and what he built in Tennessee, it seemed like it's premised more on getting the trenches right. So, but
Yeah,
again, I wouldn't be surprised either way. Um,
got it.
Number 5, who we got? The Jaguars, the Jaguars.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna
the
lie.
Jaguars.
So I'm looking at their offensive line. I'm looking at their defensive line. I'm looking at their defense. I've seen a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people project Mason Graham here, which I'm learning. Like I'm learning, right? It's taking me a while, but I'm learning to not assume that if there's a productive player at a position on a roster, that that GM is not going to go get another productive player at that same position in the draft. I'm
Yeah,
learning. Like we talked
yeah.
offline about all right. We talked offline about Brock Bowers taking over for Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet was the top tight end or not Cole Kmet, Michael Mayer.
Tyler Warren. Oh yeah,
Um
yeah. We were
being a
talking to
top tight
Tyler
end in
Warren
his
is what we were talking about.
yeah. And then
Okay.
years ago, one that always comes up for me that you put me on while we were at the draft party was Todd Gurley when the Rams already had a starting running back, but they didn't have a talent like Todd Gurley.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars went Mason Graham here. I think that would definitely bolster the defense. The defense has been an issue, um, even
Ooh,
though they
and
already have
on that front line. Ooh.
yeah, to go with, I mean, they have Eric Armstead, but why not put them together? You got Josh Hines Allen, you got Trayvon Walker. The front seven would be very formidable. I
Ooh.
like that approach,
They'll get after it. They'll get after some people, man. That'll be a
and
nasty
it
front
would
line.
harass the other offenses in the AFC because you got Houston who's building up their offense more and more. The
Hmm.
Colts, yeah, it's just
They
whatever.
lost
But
their center. They lost a starting center and a starting guard. So yeah, getting you some
mhm,
defensive line help. You know, Houston, that was one of the free agents. I think big acquisitions. Well, it was not. It's not really considered free agency, but with Laramie Tunsil going from Houston to Washington is a huge move for. That's a huge hole that needs to be filled for the Texans. So that's
yeah,
that's a good kind of chess move inside of the inner division. Divisional rivalry. So I could definitely see something like that being a good chess move and taking a blue
however,
chip player to the
that's not who I'm
contrary.
going with.
All right, lay it on me. Okay,
That's
not
not who
Mason
I'm
Graham.
going with. I
All
could
right,
see
go.
that happening. I would not be surprised with that happening. But what I see them doing with the introduction of Liam Cohen and how these offensive coordinators turned head coaches turn their teams around, it
Hmm.
makes sense to lean on your pedigree, which is offense. So I think if
Hmm.
Will Campbell falls to this spot, they're going to take Will Campbell. They're going to slide him
Hmm.
inside to help out with
Hmm.
the interior of the line if they want to stick with Anton Harrison as their starter, or they can start him outside at right tackle right away. Take pressure off of him. You already got Walker Little on the other side, and you don't have to worry about him having so much attention on the blind side of Trevor Lawrence, and he can still get his feet. And at the very, like I said, at the very least, you can kick him inside and you get interior help. Trevor Lawrence is this is kind of like his his make or break year. He's
Yeah.
been through two head
Can I
coaches.
pose you a question? Can
Oh,
I
go ahead.
pose you a question? So I'm under I'm under the you kind of teased me with the Mason Graham pick because I thought that'd be good for the upfront. But I pose two other players that outside of whoever you pick that to challenge your idea at this pick. What if you could take somebody like a Will Johnson, or you could take someone like Tyler Warren? They only have Tyson Campbell really as a top corner, which is kind of unhealthy. He still can't stay on the field. But then you can take somebody like Will Johnson to play opposite or replace um, and get off of that contract. Or you could take somebody like Tyler Warren, which they just got rid of or released Evan Ingram.
So
So
here's what I think with those as far as again Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen coming from Tampa. Dave
mhm,
Canales was the OC before he took over, and you got
okay,
to see even going back to the Brady years how they built their roster for sustained success and dominance of the division over the past 5 years.
it
It was
was
through the
up front.
trenches.
Gotcha,
So a lot
understood.
of the same things that I was speaking of, which why I could say I could see them going Mason Graham if they do defense, but I don't think they're going to do defense at all. And if they're going to do offense, it will probably be up front
O
because of
line,
how they
gotcha.
built that same roster. I do see a possibility of them getting a skill guy like a Will Johnson or like a Tyler Warren, but I don't think that would help the issues that the Jacksonville Jaguars have had over recent years, which is running the ball consistently and stopping the run. They've had success with Tank Bixby more so than ATN last year. I don't know what happened to ATN last year, but I do
Yeah,
think that having more support up front allows you to utilize the talent and the ability that you've seen him exhibit over the years. Like he's done it before, and Bixby did
yeah.
it last year. How much easier would it be for that two-headed monster
If
if
you had
you
some
build
better
up the
upfront
offensive
help.
line? Now you can do more play action, which they did a lot with Baker Mayfield, which takes pressure off of Trevor Lawrence and allows him to get more comfort, more rhythm, more stability, and not get his ass kicked in the pocket every game. And I just think
Yeah,
that helps the
getting hurt.
overall offense.
Okay,
They've
I
got
can see
two
what.
solid corners on the outsides in Jacksonville too. I mean, Monteric Brown came on really strong last year. Tyson Campbell they
Yeah,
re-signed to be a cornerstone corner.
yeah,
So that's why I said I don't want to. I want to acknowledge that teams can very much double up at positions of okay or positions of strength. I don't. I wouldn't doubt that. I just
right.
think that the O line, just from the names that I'm seeing, guys that I
Hmm.
don't hear spoken about very highly, and the production that they had overall last season, it would make sense for them to get the top guy.
Gotcha. With that being said, a name that's been flying up the boards that if they're going to take tackle, now I know at Mizzou he played right tackle, but somebody
I
like a
was
player
thinking that
like
too.
Armand
Nimble.
Memble would be a good ass fit in that offensive offensive line room, because he's gonna kick some ass. He's athletic. He's gonna move some people around. So I think if they go offensive line, I would not be surprised if Armand Memble could go up as high as five here. So I'm with you on
Yeah,
that though. Offensive line,
he won the combine at offensive line for sure,
he
and I
did.
think
He brought
I had the same note for him. He's been flying up people's draft boards because of that showing. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Jacksonville. Um, I just think if Will Campbell falls that far, then it makes sense for them to go ahead and grab him because of the polish and because of the experience, along with the attributes to be able to kick inside.
okay. All right. So with that being said, we got the Raiders on the clock. Now this is your team, right? This is your team. So what I'll do, since number 10 is the Bears, I'll trade you this pick and you can go back to back and pick here.
It
You
still
got
be
pick
even.
something. Yeah, I know,
Oh,
but
you
you
want to
go
go
ahead
back to
and
back? Okay, okay.
yeah,
I'll go back to
because
back, and then
you
you
know
go back
your
to back.
thing. Well, no. You can take now, and I'll just get I'll end up getting 9 and 10
Okay,
essentially. Yeah, because you'll do here, I'll do seven, you'll do eight, and then I'll do 9 and 10.
gotcha.
Um, but yeah, because I the weaknesses for the Raiders, I know that will be something that everybody whoever's listening or whoever views this. Uh, that you're more of an expert into what they may have done, what they may need, and I'm curious to see what they would do. But I know I can give my opinion. I think if it was my pick, just to say, I would take Ashton Genty. I don't think he falls past the Raiders. I don't think they're taking a quarterback, and I think if they can finally get a running back of his caliber, having Brock Bowers, um, a couple receivers already off the board is, there's no receiver that's worth taking that high. But it's some that you may be able to get in the high second round. So I would say going running back and getting Ashton Genty is what I would do. But I'm curious to hear what your, analysis on, team needs and fits. Who would you take? So I'll trade you the sixth pick for the 10th pick in this mock.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's Ashton Genty. I think that was solidified with the Geno trade. I think there was still a lot of rumors and murmuring about, oh, well, Tom Brady is the part owner, so he's connected to Shador. It's going to be Shador. I would. I'm not sold on Shador
I hear that
and
so
haven't
much, bro.
been as the number two quarterback. I don't think it's just like a lock
Slam dunk.
thing
Yeah.
that he's going to be the number two guy. And it's because of that other guy that's going to be later on in the mock or whenever we do the rest of the 32 that's coming up the draft boards as well. And just from the things I've seen on tape from Shador, a lot of it has to do with offensive line, him not ever really being able to get settled in the pocket and
Hmm.
to get comfortable and develop a rhythm and grow in the offense. And the offense was pretty shitty as well in Colorado. I don't know who the OC was or what Dion. I don't know. He didn't get supported in
Hey,
a way that
I
I thought
did
he should
see.
have been. So I don't want to just
You see
blame it
that
all on him.
they got Marshall Falk in the as the running
Yeah,
one of their coaches on their team.
the
I just
running
saw
back
that on
coach.
yeah, I just seen
Yeah,
that on Twitter the other day. Pretty
too little, too late.
inspirational.
Yeah, your son's gone now, so I mean, okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that because of that, Shador was not going to be the objectively best pick for the
Yeah.
Raiders this year at that spot. And if they're not going to trade down and try to get him later, which that doesn't make sense either, it makes sense to go with the best running back in the draft, who's shown an ability to be a game breaker and everything that we were just talking about, a Todd Gurley to Zach Stacy or whoever the starter was type of deal. Because there was a
Hmm.
running back that came on strong at the end of the year in Sincere McCormick, who played pretty well and got them some wins, assisted with
Hmm.
some wins at the end of the year when the quarterback carousel was going round and round. I thought they would give him an opportunity to maybe earn it or, get somebody like a Raheem Mostert to play alongside him.
Hmm.
But I don't think they're sold on McCormick as the running back of the future in that way. And when you have a talent like Genty on the board that can sustain you with a Brock Bowers for years and years to come, that's a tandem you don't want to
Man,
pass
can
up
you
on.
imagine that play action? Like, that type of like for Gino having the threat of and what people the casual fans don't know about Ashton Jitty is not only is he a willing blocker, he's actually a good blocker. Go watch his film from 2023. He's a receiving back as well.
Yep,
And a lot of his production in 2023 came out of the backfield receiving. And this year he showed not only can I receive and block, but I can run it as much as you want, 7-man box, 8-man box, whatever.
yep.
I'm your guy. So
I've seen people compare him to Emmitt Smith with
mhm,
more speed. I compare him more to Marshawn Lynch. I think
Marshawn
he's
Lynch
like
is
a Marshawn Lynch in terms of the anger and the fury that he runs with,
ferocity, yeah,
along with the Kamara type of skill set of catching the ball out of the backfield. So if you can imagine
yeah,
those two running backs in one, that's what you're getting.
yeah. He's
And
a very, very smooth,
that
smooth
fits
guy.
Pete Carroll. He had Marshawn Lynch in Seattle, so now you're getting a replication of that with more versatility out of the backfield. It just makes perfect sense, especially with the Geno trade. It just solidified for me that they need to go running back. Now, I'm concerned with everything that they've lost on defense, that might get thrown out of the window. I don't see the defensive player that they would get at 6 to fill that void or to overtake what they would get in Genty. Maybe a
Yeah,
Jalen Walker, but I don't think any of those players are good enough talents 1-to-1 to take over what you would get in
To
Genti.
justify taking that pick. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a talent gap, and that's why I kind of try to explain it. A lot of people, who I talk to offline is you have grades, and so you have only certain amount of people that players that are going to be like considered blue chip, and that means like in most drafts, this is going to still be a guy. He's going to be a guy, and no matter what draft you put him in, he's here. He's a star level player. Then you have, the bucket or tier right underneath there where you have guys who are, solid starters, maybe one time, two-time Pro Bowlers, and then so on and so forth. But after a certain point, I gotta so you can see me. After a certain point, that grading area, that grade that you get inside here, you can have a couple players that are both graded 86 or 80, 82. And depending on who's already came off the board, who's the team on the clock, and positional need, then determines probably where you would go. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the times, that's why you have certain players that get drafted in the fourth round. Like I was having this conversation with one of my friends offline about the receiving class this year. I say it's not deep, but it's a lot of depth, and
Mhm.
meaning that you're going to find somebody in the fourth round. If he finds the perfect team, somebody scouted him perfectly, they're going to find a steal. We got to remember players like Amon St. Brown is who I mentioned to him, went in the fourth round.
Yep.
So you're going to find some guys in certain positions that are going to, that's how you get knocked down, um, you know, the draft board and guys slip. Sometimes it's nothing really slipping. It's just the way that the board falls. We hear that all the
Yeah.
time.
So that would, I mean, and that honestly is my consideration as a GM, going back to the Gurley draft and just like all the drafts since, where there's been a guy of a talent level of Gurley or Bowers or somebody that's just like a generational talent, but I'm considering team need and team building and how much more could be contributed to the team by getting another
how
guy
much
at another
many other holes
position,
can you fill?
and maybe you have a drop off at the position you could have drafted with that generational guy. It's a significant drop off from who you actually get, but you
Exactly.
strengthened other areas of more
Other
need.
weaknesses.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
I
So
probably wouldn't go Genty. I would probably, I've said since they solidified this number 6 pick, trade back, get the best offensive lineman, the best guard, like later in the first round, and add picks to your
possible on the
arsenal, and
board.
then you can get more players. But I just know they're not going to do that, so it makes sense for them to go Genty right here.
Gotcha. And then it also, at that point, who would come up to get, somebody at six? Who else is on the board? Maybe somebody's calling
Well, I
for
mean, you
Mason
got
Graham.
Shador still there. Like, if somebody does value Shador like that, like if it's the Jets who are at number 7, or you got Pittsburgh, they don't have a quarterback right now.
Hmm.
It could be somebody that'd be willing to do it if they value him enough, or if they value that spot enough to get some of these
Yeah.
defensive players that are going to start running in the back half of the top 10 and into the teens. It's always a willing partner if you make the right deal. But now that as you
Yeah.
get later into the process and there's more evaluation and there's more tape being watched and stuff like that, it does make those kind of deals harder.
Nah, understood. Nah, I'm with you on that, man. Um, so I guess let's see who's next on the board. We have
The
the
Jets.
Jets. Actually, you did. That was a good segue there, Keith. My bad, I missed that. Yeah, actually have the Jets on the board. So, with that being said, it's my pick here. I know that they lost DJ Reed as a notable person. They did bring in Brandon Stevens for a kind of a starting level money deal. 3 years, 36 mil. So I don't think he would go corner. But if it were me, if you like trying to get that board, like that room filled with talent and replace somebody like Reed because you're not sure what you may um get out of Stevens, even though he's a physical
Stevens.
corner. I like him. Yeah. Here I was thinking Jade Barron will be a perfect
Mm.
fit in that cover
Uh,
three scheme. Even I could see maybe even Will Johnson fitting next to Sauce Gardner. Um, I could see that being a good fit. But with them picking up a quarterback and getting Justin Fields in the free agency, shout out to him to actually locking up a actual a contract with another team.
A
You
starting
know,
quarterback deal. Yeah,
yeah, legitimate. With the opportunity to win the job, he's playing with his former teammate in Ohio State, Garrett Wilson. They also have, I saw the former center was the old center at Ohio State, and also the tight end, Rucker.
tight end.
So they got a few players that all they played together, may have had some chemistry. I'm not saying they're gonna cook up and win a Super Bowl or nothing like that, but they have chemistry, and that's something that you definitely need in a team sport like this. Now, with that being said, bro, would they take Olu Fashanu last year? They took Fashanu
Hmm.
last year. They got a couple offensive linemen. Offensive line could use a little bit more, you know, more oomph. You know what I'm saying? They can get more talent. They can upgrade it. Does Armand Mimbu come up to the Jets and help protect somebody like Justin Fields, or do we go get him another weapon at this point and take Tyler Warren and you partner him as another versatile piece for Garrett Wilson? Because I don't think they have like a really receiving threat at tight end on their board. I mean on their roster. But on my
No.
board right now, I don't see them taking Mason Graham, still paying Quentin Williams what they do. Um, and he's still in his prime. They just paid him, you know what I mean? So I don't think they really want to get rid of him just yet and kind of build around him. Um, I don't think Michael Williams' ceiling is higher than somebody like Tyler Warren in today's game, as far as like impacting. I can get another Michael Williams before I can get a Tyler Warren. And I think I'm saying that because I think Warren is the next edge off the board outside of um, Carter at this point. I don't see anyone else maybe hopping that high
Tyler
up.
Warren.
Tyler Warren out of Penn State, the tight end.
Oh, they said edge. Okay.
Yeah. I don't see them. I don't see James Pierce going up at 7.
Oh, James Pierce. Okay.
Uh, yeah, I don't see him or like Michael Williams out of Georgia. I don't see him going up at 7. But could see them going and getting some offensive help and getting somebody like Tyler Warren, like and helping that offense right now. So I'm taking Tyler Warren. They follow the Brock Bowers method of bringing in a potential generational talent. They're comparing him to Rob Gronkowski. I'm sorry. So I go ahead and the pick is in. I'm saying they go and get Tyler Warren.
Okay. And that makes sense to me. Often they need help, so it's not there's not really a wrong answer, being that they are taking a risk on Justin Fields. It's not like that solidifies that position. So they need help all over. Get as much help and as much talent as you can get. If Fields doesn't work out, at least you have some better building blocks for the next guy. Um,
Yeah.
I like what I've seen from Tyler Warren. I like the versatility that likens him to Gronk. I think he's a little bit better of a pass catcher than Gronk, and better
Hmm.
with yards after the catch. Just has a little bit more of a Travis Kelsey wiggle, than Gronk had.
Yeah.
Gronk was pretty much straight line, get the route, get open, box people out, which he was all time great at doing that. But Warren kind of takes that to the next level. So I could see that happening.
Yeah.
I do like the fit in New York as well. I don't know how much. I'm not familiar with how much Justin Fields utilized tight ends or was able to find tight ends in his previous stints in his different locations. So that'll be
He
interesting
actually,
to how that
the
gets
Cole
schemed
Kmet
up.
was one of his favorite targets. I mean, cut you off, but yeah, me being
Mhm.
a Bears fan, Cole Kmet when they were together, that's when his uptick in production started to come up. The Bears eventually paid him, but he is a quarterback friendly tight end. I can say that Justin Fields did
Got you.
like to use him.
Oh
Um,
no, I know he's a good tight end. I'm talking about Fields as far as when he's
no,
back there
I'm
in the
saying
pocket. Is
he
that
likes to use.
yeah?
Yeah, he likes to
I
use it.
got you.
If he's a weapon, he utilized the tight end. He actually used Cole Kmet
Okay.
a lot up the seam. So
So the
I just
big thing
see,
for me then would be how do they get him schemed up? Does he have the right? Does Aaron Glenn have the right offensive coordinator in place to bring a Tyler Warren in and start to make him and Garrett Wilson the focal points of the offense with Brees Hall and with Braylon Allen? I forget who the other running back was that they had. They had three of them.
yeah.
Isaiah Rogers, is that the name?
I think it's a corner. But
No, they had a third running back that was pretty good
yeah,
last year.
yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head. It'll come to me.
But I had the Jets going after Michael Williams. I think that it would probably be a little bit high, but I also think it fit kind of the scheme that Aaron Glenn ran in Detroit, being a defensive
Yeah,
minded head coach.
yeah,
I
for
wouldn't,
sure.
I
That
wouldn't,
was my other guy. That's why I said it,
yeah,
bro. I was like, I could see him being the perfect fit, but I don't know. I think seven is a little too rich for him at this point of the like maybe they can drop
gotcha.
back. Like maybe it is someone else that says, hey, let's scoot up two picks or three picks and we'll give you a third or something or a fourth or whatever. And they just
Mhm.
bump down and get him. That's like the perfect spot for I think for Michael Williams. That would be like
Yeah,
my perfect marriage right there.
to go with
Man,
Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson coming off an injury that gives him time to work back in. So,
hmm and then you can
but
move him.
one of
You can
those other
slide him
ones.
to inside too with his
Mhm.
versatility, and then him next to Williams. I mean, yeah, Quentin Williams. Like I would love to see
Yeah.
something like that, bro. So those
I
are
don't
my
even
two
think,
guys.
honestly, Michael Williams is the top guy to your point, like it production wise or
Yeah,
potential wise. I just think because of that height, that weight, that size, and that versatility to be able to move around the line. But Tyler Warren would fit perfectly. It's a lot of offenses that he could help out in a similar fashion what Brock was heralded for doing last year and how people were looking at him.
yeah,
That would be a good fit. I thought he would have slid a little bit further down, but the Jets do need offensive help. And Alan Lazard is your number two receiver. You're in trouble, so that makes sense.
yeah. All right. So number 8 pick, we're gonna let
Number
you
eight
go.
pick.
That's on you, and then I'll do the Saints, and we'll wrap it up with the Bears. So who you got?
Okay.
Who you got? The Carolina Panthers taking here at 8.
So they've been in a similar position where they've lost a lot of talent in the offseason, and they've lost guys last season to injury, which ravaged their defense particularly. But they've done a lot early in the offseason this year in free agency and
Hmm.
trades to bolster that defense and to
Yeah,
start to add some talent to support what we saw Bryce Young come along and do towards the end of the year. He looked like a top 10 quarterback at the end of the season, quiet as kept. So there is
quiet as
room.
kept.
It wasn't really talked about because they're out of playoff contention. They're in the top 10
Yeah,
draft position, and a lot of people weren't watching the games, but I watched those games, and he looked
yeah,
like a night and day different quarterback as far as confidence, composure.
yeah,
I mean, he was helping guys elevate their games, which is what you want your quarterback to be able to do.
yeah.
Guys that
He was playing like
otherwise,
he
if they
played
go
in
to other
Alabama.
teams, they're probably
He was
not going to
playing
be
like
starters.
my bad. I mean, because he was playing like he was at Bama, like bringing up
Yeah.
the support cast. He was raising the level of people around him. No,
Yep.
that's flat out. And I just noticed they picked up Rico Dottle.
Yep.
That may be a low key good pick signing for them. Him,
Running back room is
Chuba Hubbard.
straight with Jonathan
Yeah,
Brooks coming back off an injury. You got Chuba Hubbard signed to a long term deal, so you got the support in the run game. Pass game is still a little shaky. You did bring Adam Thielen back. Xavier
yeah,
Legette didn't quite show what we thought he would throughout the season, but I heard that he was dealing with like a lingering wrist injury throughout the year that he never got
yeah,
corrected from when he was at South Carolina. So hopefully he
mhm,
gets that addressed this offseason. Maybe that helps him to be a little bit more consistent, catching the ball and elevating his
yeah,
game, getting open. Jalen Coker came along. They didn't really utilize tight end as much with Tommy Tremble. I thought Jatavion Sanders was going to really be a big pass
Oh my
catching
God.
help
Yeah,
at tight end.
yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
think they're going to go offense, even though Dave
Okay,
Canales is the offensive coach. I think they're going to
okay,
address the defense. You're losing Shaq Thompson, or you're choosing not to resign Shaq Thompson.
okay.
Derek Brown is coming off an injury, so the front seven needs help. And I don't see too many other names other than they signed Christian Rosenboom. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney, if you want to throw that name out there. They need front seven help. I think they get Jalen Walker to help that front seven. Swiss Army knife on
Yeah,
the defense. He can play off ball linebacker. He can blitz from off ball. He can play the edge. You can move him around the defense and use him in various positions as an explosive playmaker on the defensive side, first down,
Hmm.
second down, third down, to help the defense get a little bit more production, a little bit more playmaking ability.
I like
Um,
that versatility on the
yeah,
defensive front. Kind of can do what Shaq Thompson can do with a little bit more. I like it. Gives you a little bit of explosiveness on that defense, give you a playmaker out there, versatile piece. I like that.
yep. So they stole Trevon Merrick from us. So they got the secondary bolstered up. They got Michael Jackson on one side. They paid J.C. Horn way too much money on the other side, even though he is a top corner. He's not the top
Yeah,
corner.
yeah,
But you got your secondary solidified. So that helps the front seven, and then you can build around that throughout the rest of the draft.
for sure. Okay, that's a solid pick too. Like I wasn't thinking Jalen Walker would go top 10, but it's like I wouldn't be surprised either when you look at his tape. I wouldn't be surprised, but looking at the other guys, like I said, above him, it's like depending on how the board goes, I can see this happening, being a realistic uh, option. So I'm down with that. I'm down with that for sure. Um, I'm trying to think. I was thinking maybe Mason Graham could be a good fit there too. Um,
I think they're
I was
still
think,
running a 3-4. If they run in a base 3-4, I don't know
yeah,
where
then
he would
maybe not.
fit, or if you got Derek Brown. Derek Brown kind of plays the nose and defensive end, 3-4 defensive end.
Yeah,
Excuse me. And then you got Ashawn Robinson, big self there still as well. So it's like that's just
man.
a
Remember
lot
he used
of,
to play for the Rams.
yeah,
Remember he used to play for the
exactly.
Rams. Yeah, he been around
As
he
soon
been
as he
around
left,
for a
he got
while.
better.
That's what you call a stalwart. That's
Just
the
hold up,
definition.
take up
Yeah, you
space.
look it up. It's gonna have his face next to it. With that being said, okay, we got the last two picks on the board, man. We got the Saints here on the board. Same division as yours, so I guess I gotta kind of got counterreact what you just did. And let's see, let's pull the Saints up here. I'm sorry, I gotta look and see what they did in free agency. They brought back Isaac Yadam.
It was a lot of
Yadam.
re-signings. I didn't really see anybody new other than
Yeah,
Justin Reed at safety.
Justin Reed. Yeah, I did see
Everybody
that.
else
I
was
knew they
like
got one person.
re-signed.
Yeah, they had a lot of cap issue. They didn't have that much
Yeah,
flexibility, so I
they
wasn't
can't play in the
expecting them.
water.
No, not at all. So they ended up getting a good safety to go with Tyrann Matthew. They played together, got a little bit of familiarity with one another. Um, they
That's
still
where he
have a lot.
actually played first, I thought.
Yeah, and, I think so. I think he did start over there, but they got
No, he started
Alontae
off in
Taylor.
Houston.
Yeah, was it Houston, KC, now the
Houston,
Saints?
KC. Yep.
Yeah. Um, Alontae Taylor's over there. He balled out this past year. They moved him like used him as their piece, as their their uno, their one, their whoever plays their one, he follows them. So I think they have some solid pieces in their secondary. Even though like Will Johnson's still on the board, like just the talent, bro. Like you got to think somebody's gonna get him, and they're gonna get a guy like of the caliber of someone like Terrion Arnold. You know what I mean? We're talking about that type of corner coming out as a rookie. You're gonna get a talented guy. I'm not saying he's gonna be, the same tier as like Quinyon Mitchell, which was my number one corner off my board last year, but you're gonna get a high level guy. And I can see them saying, okay, let's go get another corner. Um, just because they got to hang their hat on something. And I think they're closer to having a solid defense than they would be to having a prolific offense. Um, God dang, this makes it hard because even Jade Barron is still here on the board. You even got Mason Graham still here. Hmm, let's see. Let's see. You know what? We're gonna take our first reach of the draft,
Uh-oh.
but we're gonna take it offense. And because of the momentum this guy's been getting, I think we can lock and solidify him at least in the top 10. And I think the Saints, with having only Derek Carr on the board, quarterbacks are gone, no real receiving options, wide receiver options to take in the top 10 that'll make sense. Go offensive line, get you a good piece. Go ahead and get Armand Mimbu and take him here at 9. Solidify that front five. Get you some help because he could probably play tackle immediately. I know Ramchek had been having a rough go at it lately. Ramchek. They didn't really make any moves as far as getting any other offensive line help in free agency so far. So why not get one of the more versatile pieces that can play not only probably tackle but guard if you needed him to, and he gonna kick some ass wherever you pick him to play at. So
Yeah,
I'm going
I can
Armand Mizzle.
definitely see that pick. I'm looking at the line. I know Eric McCoy was kind of shaky last year. That was on his head. They just drafted Fuaga last year. Got him at
I
left
like that.
tackle already. So the rest of the line is kind of shaky. That would be a good pick for them. I think if they decide to go that route. I thought that Tyler Warren would fall to them, and that would be the guy that they would go after to be a solid complement to Olave and Shaheed for Derek
Hmm.
Carr, especially with how Kellen Moore's offenses have been throughout the past couple of years. Going back to Dallas, we had Dalton Schultz, and Jake Ferguson, and then Goddard in Philadelphia. When he was out in LA, they had he got some good production out of Gerald Everett and Donald Parham, who was in the XFL.
I forgot
So
all about him. Big tall
he
guy, lanky guy.
yeah, so he utilizes tight ends in his offense, which would have made Warren make sense, or possibly a Colston Loveland out of Michigan. Um,
Yeah,
but going offensive line would be helpful, and I think that because of the movement that Membu has been making up the boards in recent weeks, it would make that position getting him at 9 make sense to
yeah.
bolster that
'Cause it's
offense.
kind of like
They
not a
got to
reach,
keep
but
them
it
guys
is kind
healthy.
of reach. It's
If
like
you
I
go
don't
look
think
at
he.
ESPN right now and like go look at the depth chart, the whole offense has Q's next to their name. Still, they still hurt, and the season's
they
been over
quest.
with for
They
2 months.
they still questionable. It's
Still
still
questionable
doubtful. Damn, that's
because they
crazy.
just, I mean, and the run game was difficult, which you got a talent like Kamara, you should not allow it to ever get to that point where he can't contribute in the run game and he's only a pass catching option on swings and lining them up at receiver. Derek Carr was getting his ass beat. Like the offensive line pick makes sense.
Yeah.
I also could see Mason Graham too because they've been starting to lose some production, and then they lost Granderson, or not Granderson, but who was the pass rusher that they had that they didn't keep? I can't remember. But
They left. They
Cameron Jordan's
lost.
production starting to
Uh,
decline. They kept Cameron
yeah,
Jordan, but his pass rushing production starting to decline. He's just kind of like a more of a run defender now. So Mason Graham definitely could be a reasonable pick as well to help get some explosiveness on the D line. Um, but I could definitely see them going Membu for sure.
all right, for sure. Okay. That being said, we got my hometown, that town, bear down. We on the clock. If the board falls like this, brother, Ryan Poles needs to run this motherfucking card in so fast, dog.
Let's see if we got the same guy.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and say who you think it is.
Uh. I'm scared.
Mason Graham needs to be a fucking bear if he is still on the clock.
Yeah,
If he is
if he's still
still
on the clock, yeah,
available at 10, you are getting a talent on that defensive line. Now you go get great. You got Grady Jarrett. You have Billings. You got Montez Sweat. You go and get Dayo. Abendago out of Indianapolis. But if you get a
yeah.
Mason Graham, you still I didn't even say you got Gravon Dexter now is like your rotational big, D lineman. That front defensive line would be so forceful up front. Now it kind of mirrors what our offensive line is trying to create. Maybe we come in the second round and go get us a running back. and you've hit a home run literally in the off season. You didn't hit a third, a triple or double here. You didn't hit a home run at every uh juncture of the off season. You go in free agency, you go get you a center, you go get you two guards, and then you go and get someone like Grady Jarrett on the defensive line, a veteran leader, somebody that's going to show them guys how to do it day in and day out. Um, Create a different culture and environment there. And they already got pieces in the secondary. You got Jalen Johnson, you got Kyler Gordon about to get paid a bag. You got Jaquan Brisker, you got Tyreek Stevenson. He's only about to go in his third year. So you got a lot of young talent. You got TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds
Jermaine Evans.
on relatively cheap deals. They let Jack Sanborn go. He got picked up by the Cowboys. But I can see if we go and get one more explosive, versatile piece on that D line, he probably don't have to be an edge. But if you get somebody else that's young that actually can come in and whoop some ass up front on the D line, like you don't have to train him or teach him to do certain shit, it changes the game, not only just for the defense, but for the offense. That changes the game for getting somebody like him changes the game for Caleb Williams because now these stops in sacks or pressures or getting teams off the field is giving him more possessions and more attempts at scoring or keeping more points off the board. So I think getting somebody like Mason Graham at 10, if this board falls like it did today, they need to go run that damn card in immediately.
Yeah, for sure. I had them getting the edge rusher. I figured with how the board had fell for me, my predictions, they'd be getting somebody like a Mike Green or a Michael Williams to help out on the edge. I
Yeah.
like Deo, but having that extra piece to kind of rotate in, somebody that's probably a little more developmental, they can come in and pass rush situations and do like a NASCAR kind of package. But yeah,
Yeah,
if Mason Graham falls this far, which I don't think he will,
yeah.
absolutely helping out in that interior. The Bears are one of those teams historically I mentioned that have a certain culture. They got to run the ball. They got to have good defense, and that front seven has not been a a Bears front seven for some time that we've got grown accustomed to. And it does start with that interior having a nasty defensive tackle like a Tommy Harris or somebody historically like that to hold down the middle of
Oh, he said
the, the,
Tommy
the
Harris,
line.
boy. That dude was a man, dog. He was a straight
So you're getting
killer
that
in the middle.
quality of guy, not just in talent, but also in character, also in personality, demeanor. It's like, okay, it's not going to be an easy game. It's not going to be fun this week. You're going to have a
Mm-hmm.
tough time with me every down. So that it makes
Exactly.
absolute sense and opens it
What they
up for
say?
those pass rushers on the outside.
They say you better bring your hard hat and lunch pail, my dog.
Yeah,
You better bring your hard hat and lunch pail. 'Cause we gonna get it. We gonna get it cracking today. You know,
that was good.
it's funny that you say that because Drew Dahlman was talking about he was actually talking to they had the press conference for the Bears new players yesterday in the day before. And Dahlman, he actually spoke yesterday. And he was just saying how going up against Grady Jarrett. No, that was Jonah Jackson. Used to play for the Steelers. He was like he was. I mean, not the Steelers. The he played for the Lions. Now he plays for he had played for the Rams last year. But he was like, well, playing against Grady Jarrett. He said you always feel that shit later. You said you leave that game bruised up after you play Grady Jarrett. That's what
Makes
I'm talking
sense.
about. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
I
Like,
still can't believe Atlanta let him go. I mean, you're needing help and you let go of your help. But I mean, I guess Raheem got something in mind.
yeah, yeah. I think
And
they
they
just
do
probably
still
had to
have
get younger,
what's the
man.
name coming off an injury last year, Braylon Trice. He didn't play it down, I don't think. He got hurt the preseason.
Yeah. We'll see, man. Hey, this was dope, bro. We gotta
Yeah,
run it back. We gotta, finish the first round for sure.
yeah,
I don't know how we are on the time, but that was cool because I got a whole bunch of different outcomes or ways to look at it. I don't know if we still live, but what I did was generate.
yeah.
I only picked I only used our 10, and it generated the last, rest of the picks. You want to hear a couple of them? I only got like
Yeah.
2 more minutes, but I'll name them off just for the video's sake. We got
Okay.
Shamar Stewart going at 11. out of Texas A&M to the 49ers. You had the Cowboys taking Jahad Campbell out of Alabama. You had the Dolphins taking Jade Barron. Mike Green goes to the Colts. Nick Amenwari, one of my favorite players in this draft, goes to the Falcons, which I can not man, that's a perfect fit if he goes there.
Mm.
My God. Whew, him and that secondary boy, who the DC, Dan Quinn. Oh man, that's like having Cam Chancellor over all over again.
Atlanta,
Uh, yeah. Um.
Morris, Raheem Morris,
Oh yeah, Dan. He's in Washington now. My bad.
Washington.
Um. Number 16, one of my favorite edges in this class. A little bit undersized, but you got Donovan Azaraku out of Boston College going 16.
Mm.
17. That's where the Bengals maybe they find their Trey Hendrickson replacement. They go Michael Williams.
Wow. Yeah, if he falls that far, yeah.
Yeah, number 18, Will Johnson. Seeing Will Johnson fall from being a top five corner, top five pick consensus for the past like 2, 3 years to falling to 18 is crazy, crazy work. Josh Simmons, injured this past year, played only 4 games at Ohio State, goes number 19 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 20, you have our boy Bo Nix getting some help. End up getting Emeka Ibuka out of Ohio State at number 20.
Wow.
That's a perfect fit for them.
Take
Pittsburgh
that.
Steelers get Kenneth Green out of Michigan. D line help, get some support. The San Diego Chargers, they go ahead and take a receiver.
They
They
don't
get
have a quarterback.
Hey, I'm just telling you what the board say, dog.
Okay.
Board say they going Kenneth Grant,
All right.
uh, which I can see
Is
that's a
And
steal at
Shador
21.
still on the board? Okay.
Shador is still on the board. I did not. He is not in the first round. Shador is not in the first round. We
I
have
wouldn't be surprised.
me either. That's
If the
another
Steelers,
episode.
I will be surprised if the Steelers having a dress quarterback and he's on the board and they pass. I will be surprised at that.
Maybe it's an Aaron Rodgers Shador Sanders duo going to be teaming up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but go ahead. My bad.
It's all good. We got the San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers taking Matthew Golden, receiver out of Texas, which is flying
Nah,
their boards. That's a good receiver, but I don't know if that's a good fit. They already got McConkey. You got um, Quentin Johnson. Um,
they just re-signed Mike Williams.
but here nor there. We have the Packers taking a guard. Yeah, they did. I saw that. You got Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama, going to the Packers. And then Minnesota, they go and get some back end help. They got Bynum left in free agency, got that bag with the Colts. So they going in there getting a steal here, in my opinion, if he lasts this long. Not
Malachi,
Malik, Malachi Starks. Malachi Starks goes 24.
that's a good
Mr. Kelvin
replacement.
Banks, it is very good. Kelvin Banks goes to the Texans. They find the replacement for Jeremy Tunsil. Then number 26, you had the Rams getting the defensive rookie of the year, a little bit of more edge help, and they're going to get James Pierce Jr. out of
Mm.
Tennessee at 26, which I think that could bring some more value to that front defense that they got. Where they getting somebody like him could tip them over with the type of pressure he create. Number 27, we got Baltimore Ravens taking Walter Nolan out of Mississippi or Ole Miss.
Mm.
Yeah. Number 28, we have the Detroit Lions on the board. They take D lineman Derek Harmon out of Oregon, which is another underrated player in this draft. He's actually creeped up into the first round, and is still
Yeah,
rising after the Senior Bowl and the Prime Bowl and the combine performance. Also, another guy that's names flew up the mocks. You have Washington Redskins taking Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky,
Commanders.
the corner. Um, check his tape, bro. Check his tape, bro. I liked him before even the mock. I mean, before the combine. He gonna be nice, bro. I can see him being like this year's Quinyon Mitchell. We seeing this
Mm.
live. Like that's one of them dudes right there. Um, 30, you got Colston Loveland going to the Bills. And then we have the Chiefs getting some offensive help, getting
They
another
got
weapon for
two tight
Patrick
ends.
Mahomes. Yeah, yeah, they got enough. But I guess you never had too many. I mean, they want to create something else. But then you got the Chiefs taking, they're staying interstate and they're taking the Mizzou product and they're getting Luther Burden at 31 to pair with Isaiah Worthy from out of Texas from last year. And then the rich get richer. At 32, the Philadelphia Eagles take Omarion Hampton, the number two potential consistent running back on the board, to share the backfield with Saquon Barkley. Yeah, you heard it right.
Hell no. Hell no. I definitely don't see that. Nah.
I'm just telling you what the PFF.
I got
I'm
the
just
board
saying.
is wrong. Hell no.
Yeah.
That I definitely that boy, that AI need to be, they got a bug. Okay.
All right, man. Well, hey, this was fun. Again, this is
Yeah.
Yano from Chicago. That's Brennan Keys, man. You'll catch this wherever you catch it. It's gonna be somewhere you're gonna catch it. It may be on my platform. It definitely should be on his for sure too. But we're gonna get this out to you guys as soon as possible. If you made it all the way through the video, however, please just subscribe, share, like, comment down below. I'm gonna leave it off to my boy here, but it's always two fingers.
That's what's up, man. Holla at y'all later. Y'all take it easy.
All
Peace.
right, man. Peace.